Hello everyone, I am Camila and I would like to welcome you at my research presentation. Let me introduce you with the outline of my presentation. Firstly, I would like to turn our attention to the issue of general gender disparity in STEM, especially in tech fields. And then I will narrow down the focus to the sector of open source. The situation in this field is far more critical than in any other sector. Nextly, we will have a look at initial points where the problem originates, specifically inspecting at what ages do females and males join the movement of open source. Then let's turn to actual factors motivating or preventing women from staying in open source and continuing their career here. I'll study this on the example of pull request acceptance rate made by women compared to men. Finally, we will discuss the aspects of the presence of children, home family duties, and their effect on the career of female contributors. It is generally known that women are underrepresented in IT. However, according to the study Free Libre Open Source Software by Professor Ghosh and his colleagues, female developers contribute only to the 1% of total developers in open source, compared to 28% in proprietary software. Therefore, this is the aim of this research to investigate the reasons behind this huge gap. Despite the fact that we know open source as inclusive community, open for everyone, the diversity issue in the field is more severe than in any other tech sector. Therefore, the aim of the current research is to find out the factors that stop women from joining the FLOSS community. It is suggested that women generally start their first contributions and join the open source community at later age when compared with men. Women tend to join the open source movement during their professional career, after acquiring degree in computer science or any other related field. The thesis is the factors that are obstacles to women inclusion are negative behavior they experience in open source communities, biased evaluation of contributed code, and the disproportional allocation of domestic responsibilities. At what age do men and women join the open source movement? This is one of the research questions posted in the paper of my choice called Women in Free Libre Open Source Software. This is a survey of the situation in 2010s by Robles and his colleagues. According to the figure, we can see that generally men enter the open source movement earlier compared to women. And half of the male contributors enter during the university years or before, but for female, this happens when many are already professionally active. Nextly, I tried to dig deeper and answer the question, why do women join the open source movement later compared to men? So in front of us is a depiction of the results of the survey posted in the European survey journal FLOSS Polls, dated 2016. So this survey included the question where the respondents were asked, firstly, from which age onwards did you use a computer? The results are shown on the left table. And the second one, when did you have your first computer of your own, on the right? The results are that the average age at which male informants first own computer is 14 and a half, whereas for women is 19. So why it is important? Work in open source software often assumes that contributors have already a long history and experience with computers, computer programs, computing, and other types of technology. So, as a result, this background of using the computer programs can be turned into sort of prerequisite. So, as it is quite conceivable, people joining the open source at different ages follow different reasons to start. So, in front of us are the two tables summarizing the answers of the same survey, and the respondents were asked this time the question, what is the reason to start in FLOSS? As you can see, the top reason for starting to contribute to floss for both groups is to learn and develop new skills. This compromises more than 60%. Then, women give more importance to participate in new forms of cooperation, and to the contrary, men to improve floss products of other developers. Improving job opportunities looks more important for women, but this can be explained by the fact that women are entering the floss scene more recently, and the open source market has already become more mature. As open source brings together people from all over the world, it is of no surprise that it can lead to conflicts. One of the obstacles for inclusion is the inflammatory language and negative behavior, which serves as the biggest problems in open source. And it is more commonly experienced by women. In front of us are the results of the survey, which was conducted in GitHub platform, and the answers were collected from more than 5,000 respondents. And the results suggest the majority, over 45% of the respondents, report that they witnessed acts of rudeness. Also, flame wars are largely constituted from negative language and personal attacks, a major off-putting factor for newcomers. Its effect is claimed to be stronger for females, who mention abundance of stereotypical gender-based jokes in IRC channels. Next, let's move on to the factors that help or hinder females to stay in open source software. This will be done by answering the question: are pull requests made by women are less likely to be accepted than those made by men? As a basis, I use a study by Terrell and his colleagues called Gender Bias in Open Source, Pull Request Acceptance of Women versus Men. This paper suggested the hypothesis that pull requests made by women are less likely to be accepted than those made by men. However, as the results suggest, the merge rate of women appeared to be 78.6 compared to men's 74.6. The hypothesis was not only proven to be false, it also turned out that women are more likely to have their pull requests accepted. I can claim that the research results are valid since other sites and other aspects were also taken into account in further sections of the paper. Authors also take into consideration the size of the changes that women were making to the program, whether these were small and many changes in terms of lines of code, or where this change is considerable, and also the fact whether the code that the women were contributing was in actual programming language or not, and other such factors were also taken into consideration. And another question arises: if it is identifiable that pull request is made by women. What is meant under identifiable is that the authors of the paper divided the pull requests into the two categories. The one is gender-neutral pull requests made by gender-neutral profiles, and the others are gendered pull requests, which are made by the profiles where it is identifiable that the gender of the user. Gender-neutral profiles often do not contain profile picture and have unisex nickname, and the profile photo is often the auto-generated graphic used in the GitHub. Authors identified the genders of such unisex accounts by looking up the linked accounts in Google Plus of emails. So the results suggest women have a higher acceptance rate of pull requests overall, but when they're outsiders to the project to which they contribute, and their gender is identifiable, they have a lower acceptance rate than men. So it does prove that the bias does exist, towards women while accepting the pull requests when the women are not the permanent members contributing to the project, uh, or their gender is identifiable from their account. Children and burden of domestic duties. In front of us is a figure which depicts the answers to the question which was posed for informants of the survey and sounded like, do you have children? The men answers are on the left and the women's answers are on the right. And can be concluded that the general trend in open source software is that majority of contributors, regardless of the gender, do not have children. Additionally, according to Flo's Post report, female reporters claim that participation in open source software is challenging for them on account of the reasons such as family and domestic responsibilities, and as a result, many of them drop out. That's all. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.